In our text this morning, we see that Stephen has just been stoned. Saul is now making havoc on the church. He's going from home to home, getting out all the men and women and throwing them into jail.
Right.
Which leads to the great persecution of the church.
Yes.
Which causes many of the believers to scatter.
Yes.
And in the midst of this scattering, it leads the second deacon, the second most important deacon, Philip, to go to Samaria.
Amen.
Why is Samaria so important? Samaria is important because Samaria was a city that was diseased, possessed, and deluded. Why do we need to focus on Samaria? We need to focus on Samaria because many of us are diseased, possessed, and deluded.
Amen.
Many of us are diseased because we have some type of issue going on with us that we cannot get rid of. Many of us are possessed with unclean thoughts and unclean habits that we know are wrong.
Yeah.
And many of us are deluded because we allow people who really don't care about us to speak into our lives.
Amen.
This is how Samaria was. It was a place where no Jews wanted to go. But Philip goes down there anyway. He goes down there not to preach a candy gospel, a feel-good gospel, name it and claim it. He went down there to preach only one thing and one thing only. He went down there to preach Christ. Christ. What happened when you preach Christ? The text says that unclean spirits will cry out loud. The text says that the lame will begin to walk. The text says that miracles will be done and people will become healed. Christ. There was a joy that filled Samaria that was never there. Can I pause to tell you that there's something about when we preach Christ? Dead men start walking. Blind men start seeing. Lame men begin to walk.
Yes, amen.
Christ. Slaves become free. Christ. It's something about preaching Christ. Because he came down from eternity into time. He came down and slept the way we slept. He came down and ate the way that we ate. He came down and was forsaken the way we are forsaken. He came down, he was talked about, he was laughed at, he was spit on just so we could know what it means when somebody preaches Christ. After preaching Christ, something happened. The believers began to be baptized. And then it says a great joy came over them. They were having a life. People looked different. People talked different. They had a different lifestyle. It was a revival. But then the tone of the text shifts. In clause A of verse 9 it says, but there was a certain man named Simon. This man Simon was the one who had a foothold on the city. He was doing sorcery, he was doing magic, and all this had caused him to be the big man on campus. Everything he said, they played on his words. Whatever he said, they listened. Whatever he told them to do, they did. Simon, Magnus. He was even so great that they called him the Great One, the power of God. Simon. But something happened. Philip comes down to Samaria. And now Simon, who once was over everyone, is now just a parishioner in the crowd. The leader is now the power. The teacher is now the student. Can you imagine how he must have felt? When he walks, people cheer his name. When he talks, people listen. But then here comes some old deacon. Taking control over Simon. The first thing we have to understand about this text, and if you have your notes, please take your notes. The first thing is, if we really want our hearts to be right, we must check our motives. In verse 19 it says, Simon offered money to be able to have what the apostles had. He said, I'll give you my money to be able to do what you can do. I'll give everything I have just to have the power that you have, so I can become who I used to be. You see, many skeptics dog outside. Many of them say that he was wrong. But imagine yourself in Simon's shoes. Imagine how Simon must have felt. He had been a man for so long.